Thanks so much to our witnesses for your testimony today. I appreciate you coming back. Those of you who did, second time here in 2 months. Vice Chair Barr, Chairman Grunberg, I also want to thank you for your hard work, reviewing the recent bank failures and keeping the committee informed, and for being here for quite a while today. I know we're near the end and certainly a long day. As I told you the last time you were here, my constituents are worried about making ends meet. The last thing they need to worry about is their bank failing. I'm looking for more accountability. That's really the focus of my first set of questions here, Vice Chair Barr. My constituents deserve to know that we will hold bank executives and regulators accountable and ensure that this doesn't happen again. Vice Chair Barr, the Fed's report says that supervisors, quote, did not fully appreciate the extent of the vulnerability at Silicon Valley as Silicon Valley Bank grew in size and complexity and did not take sufficient steps, quote unquote, to ensure that SVB addressed its problems quickly. And I asked you this last time about accountability, who was asleep at the wheel. Now that you've had more time to review this matter, can you tell me about individual accountability?
Ultimately, I'm accountable for ensuring our supervision and regulation is effective. It was not in this case, and I can tell you I'm committed to making significant changes to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Was anyone fired?
There have not been any employees of the Federal Reserve fired as a result of this. We did not find any unethical conduct. We did find judgments that could have been better and actions that could have been stronger. And as I said, I'm committed to fixing that.
Thank you. I'd like to move on to capital requirements. This morning I received your answers to my questions for the record from our last hearing and have some follow-ups. Access to capital for small business, especially minority-owned businesses, is one of my top priorities. The thriving community of startups in my district, many of them biotechnology companies saving, extending, and improving lives, rely on banks for capital. I'm alarmed by increasing reports of a credit crunch, particularly for small business owners and minority business owners that are likely to be hit hardest by this. The Basel III Endgame rule expected later this year will materially increase the capital requirements for banks. This will limit these banks' ability to lend into the economy and support capital formation in areas like mine in North Carolina. Just to be clear, Vice Chair Barr, banks under $100 billion will not be subject to increased capital requirements?
That's right. The focus of our reform efforts is on, with respect to capital, is on banks over $100 billion in size, and the potential significant increases in capital requirements are really focused on very large firms with very large trading operations, not with respect to smaller firms serving small businesses.
And have you considered the impact that higher capital requirements might have specifically on minority-owned businesses that already face significant barriers to accessing capital?
Yes, we look at the impact of a rule across the board, including its effect on small business lending when making adjustments. As I said, the adjustments we're thinking about with respect to Basel III Endgame that the agencies together are considering are primarily about significant adjustments to the trading book for the very largest financial institutions in the country. They're not about small business access to credit.
Specifically, though, I'm asking about the impact capital requirements will have on minority small business owners. Have you conducted an analysis in your holistic review on this?
We don't currently anticipate that the kinds of changes that we're talking about would affect the institutions you're talking about. We're really focused on capital requirements on the largest institutions in the country who have very active trading books, and that's primarily driving the changes in Basel III Endgame.
So when we consider the structural barriers for minority entrepreneurs, the rising rate environment, inflation, and again, reports of a credit crunch, do you think this is really the best time to get into raising capital requirements?
As I've said, any rulemaking that the agencies do would be formal notice and comment rulemaking with appropriate transition periods. So we're not trying to design capital requirements for tomorrow. We're thinking about, in several years, what should capital requirements look like when fully implemented.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Chair, I yield back.